This one's going to be a really special one because we're going to cover so much ground, whether it be on college soccer, whether it be the pros, coach's background, coach's family background, which is absolutely stand out when it comes from a football perspective. I'm really, really, really excited to have him on board. I'm going to bring him on board in just a moment, and we're going to kick off with Coach Jordan Rideout. G'day, Lockie. How you going? Hello, sir.
How's it going, mate?
Good, man. How are you?
Good. I'm just making sure you don't think I'm French with the Rideau. Jordan Rideout, just how it seems.
All right. I had it right in the first instance in my mind, but now you clarified it, and we're good.
Go with the gut, mate.
I had to put the French on. It sounded good.
I like it. How's things with you?
I'm doing great, my man. I'm sweating a little bit. I have a knack of waking up in the morning, going out here on patio and working out, right? So, U90 Nation, I went a little bit over time because I had to get a little bit of a workout going right before we hit it up with Coach. But yeah, mate, I've been doing good, man. I'm really, really busy on our end, and things, even though the world is changing, things are still going pretty smoothly on our end. We've been pretty blessed for that because, a lot of people out there have gone through a lot right across the planet, right? So it's not just us as individuals, but, right across the world. So just be grateful and thankful that we're still working. We can still support our clients and continue growing and evolving, I guess. But really, really blessed to have you on board, man. Came out a little bit out of left field. We had the great Oliver 12 Trees, who was going to jump on board, but rules and regulations are rules and regulations. So it typically happens on the 4-year schooling route. But we've been blessed to, at least over the last few weeks, have some pretty impressive guests, and having you on board, fantastic. Great to have you on board. So one and all, U90 Nation scattered all across the globe, thank you very, very much for joining us this morning. We have none other than Head Coach of Barton Community College, Mr. Jordan Rideout. I got that right, right? Okay, so Mr. Jordan Rideout, Jordan has just taken over Barton Community College. We're going to go through the season, how that looked like last year, talk a little bit about, your playing background. We're going to cover off some ground as well around questions that certainly came to my mind in regards to the junior college environment. A lot of people are up in the air, I guess, especially when we start talking to, whether it be our clients or just people who are asking about, well, what's the entry pathway into the college system? And certainly you've been privy to it from, growing up in England all the way through to transitioning into the US market. So we're going to touch on a few key points around that and get into your mind a little bit, a little bit about yourself. Obviously you have a really fantastic background, a footballing background from family and yourself and otherwise. So it's going to be great to just get a little bit more insight into a younger corporate coach Rideout and find out a little bit about those family genetics that have taken you to sign next level. Yeah.
My mom's side's the good side.
Yeah. So we're going to get that covered as well, and then we're going to take a few questions. And I asked one and all, anyone who's on the live chat today, make sure that you're sending through questions so I can pick it up and obviously ask Coach. Really, really excited to have you on board, and let's kick it off a little bit about Barton Community College. I'm just going to go through a little bit of an overview. 11 wins, 3-1, 2019 season. Tell us a little bit more about the season. Obviously, junior college, without doubt, a lot of people kind of think, at least when we talk to a lot of people, they say, well, you don't want to transition right into the 4-year. What they don't realise is that junior college is such an amazing platform. We've had, if you're managed right and you're, guided into the right program and it's the right fit culturally for the coach and the client or otherwise, I have seen the output of our own clients who have maybe missed the boat academically or athletically, not there yet. They transition into junior college, they develop into fantastic athletes, they get sticky in their study, they get a lot more traction around what that is, and then they transition into 4-year environments and really become impactful student athletes. So 11-3-1, I think he got into the regional playoffs towards the tail end of the year, I believe. So from my perspective, I really want to get more clarity about the season, what that looked like. And the reason I ask is that we've had a little bit of history. Our own client, Jackson Dent from Australia, had played Barton at one point, and
right?
Yeah. So I had nothing but an amazing experience. Jackson would come out, often when we were running training sessions out here in Sydney and just talk to the student athletes, just talking about his experience attending Barton at that time and otherwise. So maybe you can talk a little bit about the season 2019, what's in store, obviously 2020 and Corona and whatnot, a little bit of an impact, maybe some insight around that. And, just what you have in store for the program for the upcoming year and beyond.
So first off, thank you for having me. Thank you for the kind words, and I really appreciate being on here. I appreciate being able to use my kind of background to be able to speak to people and give a different perspective, because I think a lot of stereotypes are given about this or that, and from what I find, even when I've spent my time in high school in Kansas, and I had no idea about the college system really, and my dad obviously played in the highest level, which I'll touch on a bit later, but we were pretty new to the college system and how it worked, and the visits and the time frames, and so if I would have been able to have the knowledge that through podcasts that we can get today, I think it would have helped me a lot. So it's a pleasure to be on a podcast like this. So now I'm at Barton Community College. We had a pretty good season. It's my first year here. I was at Northwest Kansas Technical College last year. I can kind of go into my background a bit in a little bit, but as far as the season this year, we had a group of a whole new team. Two players were from America, so everyone was international, 17 different countries. A few of them didn't speak much English at all. So basically, I think the common knowledge was we recruited for football as your language. If you can speak football, if you can speak success, then you can. Yeah, and I think that's the big thing, is that you have to really love it. You can't just like to play soccer. You have to love football to be able to push on it and grow, because junior college, it's not going to be like in the movies and universities that you see. It's going to be a grind, because you need to get to the next level. You need to earn the next level. Videos, as a coach, I know that videos can be deceiving at times, and videos can also be can kind of throw a player off, because I'll give you an example of a girl that I had last year at Northwest Tech. She, Audrey John Felix, she's at William Carey now, top NAIA, and she's one of my favorite players I've ever coached. Great girl, and she scored goals for fun. And so when we're making her video, first 2 minutes of it, she's just dribbling past people, and it's decent. I'm like, what are you doing? You need to make your video correctly. You need to put this goal. You chip the keeper here. You beat the keeper here. So we changed her video up, sent it out to everyone again, and then the emails come in, the scholarship offers come in. And I mean, as a coach, I get thousands of videos, and I can only watch so many videos. So if I look at a video and I see in the first 20 seconds, okay, this isn't what I want, I'm going to pass on the video. And the reason I say that is because I have connections such as yourself that you look at players and you trust people. And so if I find a player where the video is outstanding and I see a bit of magic in that, then I'm going to have a look at it. But I know in the first 15, 20 seconds whether there's magic in that player or not, based off technique, based off runs, based off football IQ. And then it comes down to at Barton, I am trying to bring players that want to get to NCAA D1, NCAA D2, professional. They want to win championships. They want to go undefeated. And so there needs to be a level of determination, a level of I'm going to keep pushing on, I'm going to keep growing, I'm going to keep learning. And so you have to love it more than anything if you want to make a commitment to move to the United States, to go to a junior college, to try to push on, to try to go pro, to try to go D1, whatever it may be. And I think a lot of people globally, a lot of people in America might look at junior college as something that's not worth coming to. And I think that's where I need to come in and say that it is. And there's programs like Barton, there's programs like Tyler, Monroe, Eastern Florida, who is no longer there due to Corona, Salt Lake, Yavapai, that if you come in and you do really well for 1 or 2 seasons, you're going to be one of the biggest recruits in the country. And I use Dom Dwyer for an example. I was with the Sporting KC system, so I was a homegrown player as he came in. And for those that don't know Dom was in the Norwich Academy in England. He came to the United States to Tyler Junior College, smashed it, unbelievable, smashed it, scored goals for fun, something like 54 goals. And then went to South Florida for 1 year and then became a Generation Adidas player and signed for Sporting KC his junior year, went to Orlando, played for the U.S. national team, and the list goes on. And then I've got another story about Kevin Ellis from Barton. He's on my podcast on Friday, and he's the same story. He came to Barton for 2 years, was with the Sporting KC system under my dad, and he was probably ready to play physically, but mentally and maturity-wise, I don't think he was ready to be a pro. His weren't Division I. His aspirations were, let me get my 2 years in, smash it, show the world who I am, and go pro. And he did that. He came in All-American under Oliver 12 Trees, All-American Defensive Player of the Year, and he showed he is what he really was, and signed for Sporting KC out of Barton. And so people ask, is junior college a route to the pros? And I could keep going on about players that maybe they didn't go straight from junior college, but I think education is a big thing people need to look at as well. Because I'm a prime example of that. I played pro for 3 years, but my mom made me promise to get my degree. I got an injury which put me out of the pro game, and because I have my degree, I can now coach at Barton and help people follow their dreams. And so if you look at it like going to university is going to get me pro, you're looking at it the wrong way. You need to look at it like I am fortunate to get an opportunity at whichever university wants to give me money to go there. Then you need to look at I need to earn that next level, and then you can push on from there. But the education part is what people take for granted. And I'll be honest, when I was in college, my freshman year, I was probably one of those people that took education for granted. But it comes with maturing, and once you see the big picture and you see that piece of paper, that education can get you a foot in the door your whole life. I mean, I could be 20 years on the line and I'll be a coach, but if I didn't get that degree, I wouldn't be that coach. And my dad is an example of that. He played pro for however many years, but he didn't get his degree, so he can't be a head coach of a college, but I can. And so there's a difference there. And so the way I look at it is you're blessed to have the opportunity not only to be able to play, grow, and create opportunities, but you're also getting education and opening doors for yourself down the line. And so junior is a big part of that because that's the outlet, in my opinion.
You've covered so many, in 15 minutes, like in 10 minutes, you covered so much ground around some of the key things that are so pertinent to this whole process. The first thing was dedication. And I sit down with kids pretty much every other day, and their parents, or on video calls and whatnot, having chats with them. And I'm very brutal, honest, and raw. I'll just say it out front. Because I played at an elite level as a youth, and I travelled to Europe and I did all that kind of stuff, and I saw all that, saw what that level was. So I'm also still a coach myself, right? So from my perspective, you've got to be very, very determined, and you've got to put some sacrifices ahead of you to enter into an elite environment. And that's no different from playing in, and we'll touch on it in a minute, whether it be Europe, whether it be, going to a junior college in a nationally ranked junior college. So determination comes from within. And that from my perspective, when I look at a prospective student athlete, I say to them, it's not you. It's not mum and dad who are driving it. It's you. You have to drive it. So when you transition over, you have to be switched on enough to say, hey, I've got to be focused because I have some goals ahead of me that I need to attain. Whether that be, okay, hey, tail end I might go pro, but realistically I want to get my degree, or I do want to study, I want to have something to fall back on, right? Because as you know, you had injuries, I had injuries, football's fickle, it stops. If you're blessed enough to have a long career like your dad did, that's amazing, that's a blessing and a half, that doesn't always happen, so you touched on something so key there. I think that's fantastic that you did. I think there's some other things there that a lot of kids don't understand and you mentioned that, and I still remember vividly, travelling out to see two of our boys graduate from Trinity in Texas, probably about 5-6 years ago now. I spent a lot of time with Matty Barnes over in San Antonio, Johnny Clifford, Isaac Sanchez, those boys down there, and then spent time at the graduation of two of our boys from Australia who graduated under Paul McGinley at Trinity, and
a good program there.
An amazing program, yeah. Obviously, Lance Keys, good mate, and all that, so many guys who came through Paul's umbrella. I think, a very historic D3 program without a doubt, just soccer program in general. But basically, I was sitting there with Paul and we were having, shouting me a steak, and we're just sitting there talking, and he said, John, I said to him, Coach, I haven't heard from you in a few months. What's going on? And I sent you a few kids, and he just slid his phone across the table and he said, 1,000 emails, mate. Right, so a lot of kids just don't understand the fact that, you want to go to a competitive environment. This is competitive. It's gotten even more competitive. We'll get to that in a minute, right? Over the last 3 or 4 years, even more and more, right? And we'll get to that. But, Coach McGinley said, John, I'm flooded. I get hundreds and hundreds of kids from whether it be, third parties, trying to promote kids to the college system, or just individuals just trying to knock on my door. Right? So, and then kids just sending through random emails. So it's pertinent that you said in the recruiting cycle and you're pointing towards your player who's at William Carey, an amazing program in the NAIA, nationally ranked without doubt. We actually have one of our girls from Australia who just joined up this season. She's from Sydney, and this could be an amazing time for her without doubt. We've had so much success in the NAIA. The fact that you mentioned that, a lot of kids don't even understand that, that level. They really don't understand it. So yeah, I mean, that individual girl that you were talking about, she had to really make her reel stand out on multiple fronts. And I always say to these kids, your reel is one thing, but give me a full game as well. And that will be provided to the coaches who are in the know, play professionally like yourself or otherwise. And me, myself, I always take time to review, even before these kids sign on. I say, let me have a look. And let me give you some feedback as to where you are realistically going to fit into the system across the board, academically, athletically, and what the fit will be. So it was very, very telling of you to be able to say that and say, hey, listen, be smart about it. Don't just show, I busted in 20 goals and it was just all this kind of technical work on the ball and it looks nice and fancy and glitzy, but that doesn't show you what you do off the ball.
Exactly.
And that's the thing that coaches like yourself want to be able to see, right? So it's very, very, very important that you said that. I think you touched on a few different things there, in essence, that, the junior college system is extremely competitive, but it also provides that platform back into, whether it be the four-year system. You mentioned something about, players that you played alongside or had a professional on the professional circuit had come through 2 years in the junior college system or a year or otherwise, and were that prolific at that level, jumped into the pro game. Obviously with the backing that you said, okay, hey, for you yourself, promised mum, you said, hey, I've got to get that degree. That was fantastic. Being able to say, hey, you know what, there's an opportunity for you. If you're at that level, you could hop into the pros, but that's a very narrow window. One, you've got to be something super duper special. But then at the same time too, the fact that if you're going to go down that route, think about the fact that you can actually have your education to back you up, because again, you don't know what's going to happen. So it's good that you touched on that. What do you feel like, again, it was, you inherited a program. Did you have to change a lot of the dynamics around the program, the way that you recruited? Obviously, you said, you recruited a lot of kids from international markets. Some just spoke the language of football, which is an amazing thing, and that's the way that you communicate, which is a great way of kind of putting it with the round ball. But is there something there that, obviously you had to change, you had to manipulate a little bit, or do you think that it was something, you got kind of the finished product and you're able to maintain that, work on that, and then build off of that for 2019 and beyond? And also, what do you see from 2019 and beyond in terms of, where Barton will continue to grow and evolve into under yourself?
I don't think there's ever going to be a finished product. Especially for me, I'm always learning, growing. We'll win 2-0 and I'll have a go at someone about this or that. And it's not because we're doing it wrong. It's because you're looking out for the common interest of the player and you want him to continue to find those habits moving forward. As far as Barton is concerned, we're returning 14 players, and these are, in my opinion, top players, and I'm excited about the group that I have coming back. Obviously, you have to fill in a few gaps here and there, but I think that the core that we really brought is a very good group of not only players but people. And you ask if I had to change the dynamics of the program, and Barton soccer started with Oliver 12trees. He's kind of the OG here. He's on my podcast on Friday as well, and I think NJCAA owes a lot to Oliver because he's been consistent in keeping up good quality competition, good quality soccer in the NJCAA everywhere he's been. And so Barton soccer grew from him, and then it's been through a few different coaches here and there, but I took over from Mike Brown. Mike is at Iowa Western now, and he's a good friend of mine. Basically, I was at Northwest Tech, and we spoke a lot, and we shared a lot of common interests, and we spoke football very well, and I enjoyed being around him as a coach, and I think when you're coaching against other people, that can be rare sometimes because obviously the competition aspect of it comes into play, but there's a lot of respect with Mike and myself, and when he got the opportunity to go back to Iowa Western, he said he thought I'd be a good candidate to take over, and the rest kind of took into fruition. Mike had a very systematic approach to his play, and it was very, very, very good. They obviously made it to the national finals, and his style of play is a little bit different than how I play. But there's never going to be a right or wrong because I love the way he plays. I love to watch the way he plays, but the way I play and the way I was growing up is a little bit different. So I think my dynamic is a little bit less systematic, a little bit more man management, and kind of teach the things that they haven't been taught at the next level. Teach what they're not doing to be able to get there. What's stopping you from being the player that you want to be? I think I was fortunate enough to obviously be raised by my dad, who is as nitpicky as it gets with everything, literally everything, but it turned me into kind of a person that became the same. So when I watch the game, I watch when you receive a pass as a right back, are you opening up the right way, your right angles? Have you looked at the line before you play the ball? When are you timing the runs? A lot of the things that I think you're not taught unless you're taught by someone like I was, like my old man. And I think I'm very, very fortunate enough to have that. And that's why coaching is a passion of mine, because I'm basically explaining what I feel like I am born to do. And so for me, it's more of, let me help you try to get past what I did. And I try to build the trust between player and coach. And that trust only comes when you give without expecting, and you try to help the player improve, because at the end of the day, junior college, I could win a national championship for 3 years, but if I have 0 players getting to where they want to be, I haven't done my job. So my job is to get these players to the next level at the right place and to improve the player. A big part of that is the right place, because you see all the time someone accepts a Division I offer, goes to a school they know nothing about, to a coach that they don't like, hates it, done after a year, never goes back. I try to avoid those things. I try to send players to the right places that fits the need. Does the coach like this player, like this type of person? Can he deal with the character? Will they do good at that school academically? So many different factors. Socially, will they fit in? But at the end of the day, I think the biggest job for me is to create a professional environment in order for my players to come in for 2 years, grow, and get to the next level and make Barton look good, make me look good by going out and doing really well in their future. But I think my biggest job is to make them, at junior college, they need to mature into the men, and once they can mature like Kevin Ellis, they have 1-2 years college level, they can really thrive at the D1 or pro level. And I went to UMKC, which is a Division I school in Kansas City, and we had actually one of my players from Sydney. He went to Tyler Community College, or Junior College, Pathfield, did well, and then transferred to UMKC, as well as Tom McCarthy, Ashley Reese, Chris McGahee, who were all from Tyler Junior College. And when they transferred, they were main players for us right off the bat. And so I look back at my years at UMKC, and I think my players in Barton right now, I would take 6, 7, 8 of them into my UMKC team when I was playing in a heartbeat. I would love that, because they're at their level. So I think people realize it's not a drop level, it's more of, I needed access to that level. That's right.
Yeah, I think, well, again, mate, I mean, you're hitting so many nails on the head. Yeah, it really resonates with me in terms of the culture that you're trying to instill. I think that, getting the fit right from the get-go is so important. It really, really is. I think that, making sure that there are just so many nuances, right? And a lot of kids kind of do that route where they are thrown in the deep end, or are trying to go at the process alone, and then kind of just reach out, and the coach goes, okay, well, this looks good, I'm going to bring this kid over. But what they don't understand is quickly they can just become a roster player. It's just a player that's just sitting on, a backup, or, it's not the right academic fit. It's not the right culture, right? So you really have to be able to decipher where it is that you're going to, who you're going to be playing under, the system of play. There's so many other factors that I get a lot of our clients to be able to, uncover, even if it's on the initial call, right? What I found really, really powerful is I always ask our kids, I say, listen, there might be 3 or 4 different programs that are interested in you and their families. There might be 3 or 4 that are interested in you out of, several or more that really stand out for you. What I do recommend, some of these might be presenting back offers for you. jump on a plane, get out, go visit, go get a bike. And that's the only way you're going to really deep down understand whether or not this is a long-term investment for your future. And that's what you've got to look at. It's not just how do I hop from one place to the next to get to the end game. It isn't about that. It's about how do I pragmatically sit down and really analyze, is this the right fit? Am I going to have a good, fulfilling opportunity here? And am I going to grow and evolve? And I think you're creating those kinds of environments. Now, I think the level that you guys play at on the national stage in the junior college ranks and the mentality that you're trying to instill with your players is spot on, meaning that, you're trying to create this culture of uncovering things that are incomplete, in that they're, I guess, not only their play is one thing, that's a technical thing, right? And you can work on technical things through repetition and consistently doing that, day in, day out. But I think mentally, that's where so many kids go wrong. And I've seen it not only, at a pro level, I've seen it at a collegiate level, right? Where kids go into it, they're not mentally prepared. They don't really understand what they're getting themselves involved in. So I think being very upfront and hard-hitting to a lot of these kids, and not in a way that's negative, but just in a way that there's discipline and there's structure, and you have to understand that if you want to be that player, that's a very different mentality. If you want to play at the clubs like where, your dad played and otherwise, that's a different world.
There's levels.
Different world. And kids just don't get it. Don't get it because they haven't experienced it. And, some kids go, hey, I hopped on a plane or went on a tour. Well, that's an experience. But when you have to live it, that's a different world because they're going to show you behind the thin veil. This is glitz, this is glam. You went through Manchester City and, you did the tour of the stadium and you're like, oh my God, that'd be fantastic. But the real reality is, and I've had stories of people that I grew up around who played professionally in Bundesliga, wherever it might be that you played. I still specifically remember, and I always tell our kids that we train or our clients, said, listen, this is a family friend of mine. We grew up together. He played in the Bundesliga for 4 years, and he said, he vividly remembered him telling me he was playing at, can't remember exactly which club, but he did a training session, and mind you, he had two kids, 2 young kids, his wife, 4 years and 5 years, 6 years in Germany, I think it was, and didn't really have to learn the language. The German culture is a totally different world unto itself, right? And he was training out on the pitch. He finished the session, coach brought him over and said, how do you think how you going? How's your family? And he said, no, what I was going to say is this individual, that we kind of grew up with, right? The coach told him, hey, how's your family? He said, yeah, they're good, coach. Yeah. He goes, it's good. How are you feeling? Did you think you did okay out there in the training session? And he said, yeah, coach, yeah. I think I did well. And he said, if you train like that again, he goes, don't come back.
Yeah.
Do you understand that? So a lot of kids think that I'm going to go play at the top level or here. The mentality is totally different. And it's totally different from playing even here, like local leagues and the Premier Leagues here in Sydney, to that other level over there in Europe and different parts of the world that are high level. And now take that and go to a nationally ranked collegiate soccer program in the USA, whatever level it might be, in the 4-year, in JUCO or otherwise. I tend to think this is the way that I tell our prospective clients, that's the mentality that you're going to have.
Yeah.
Right? If a coach like yourself gives money out to a kid,
exactly,
you got someone else that you got to report up report up the chain to the athletic director. And if you're not winning titles, or you're not getting through the conference rounds, or whatever it might be, they'll say, hey, hold on a second. You put full ride scholarship on that kid. That kid's not giving you a return on investment. Yep. Right? They're not doing what you need to do, so your job's on the line. And then I tell these kids, just understand it. Don't think that all these coaches are on some multi-million-dollar contract in college land. They're not. You know what I mean? They have to feed themselves with this. So they've got to make the right decision about who they're bringing on board. Right? And so what you said across the board totally resonates. I've touched on some of the, like at a pro level, the mentality and how that can transition if you take on that thought process that, hey, I've got to be, when it's game time, I've got to be focused like that. Like, my job's on the line. That kind of mentality in yourself. You've got to internalize it, right? To be able to compete at a high level, even at the national stage in college soccer. That's my take on it, and that's how I kind of, present it back to prospective clients, right?
You said one thing that stuck with me is you have to be a realist, and I think that the biggest thing is, I can kind of go into my background is I was at Sporting KC Academy, I was at UMKC, and I was always the top scorer, I was always the guy. And then I go into the professional environment, and you have to start from the bottom and work your way back up. And so basically I into Phoenix Rising. My last year of college, I had double hernia surgery, so I only played a few games. Finished last semester online, so I could go and try to play at Swindon Town, a trial with Swindon Town, which was my dad's first club in England, League Two. And I had to get back to fitness, and so I emailed Arizona United, which is Phoenix Rising now in the USL, and I kept emailing, didn't hear back 5-6 times, just asking to train. Can I come train with you so I can get back to fitness and go to trial in England? Finally heard back, yes, you can come out to training. Trained with them for about a month, did really, really well, scored goals, had the tenacity, the fire, and got offered a contract. And when I say got offered a contract, you have to look at it and you have to be a realist again and say, is this going to be big money? Am I going to be $1 million? No. I was on $200 a month. I was working Monday to Friday at a pizza place. I knew it was a foot in the door. And the reason I took the contract is because my family was there. It was my first year as a pro. The contract was there, so it was my first real foot into the door. But if I went back to Swindon, it was a trial. It was money. I didn't know if it would work out. So it was a start for me. From there, I learned a lot from a lot of the veterans, and I learned a lot about myself. And that's where I go back to being a realist. And you can't expect to do well in training and say, okay, I'm going to start. Okay, I'm going to go and play. There's levels to it. And so my levels were, you have to get into the reserves, get into the subs, then you have to get into the game, then you have to maybe get a start, maybe score a goal, then you have to become the leading scorer, and then you have to become the leading scorer of the league consistently, and then you have to, there's always going to be levels. And so for me, in college I was scouted by a lot of big schools, and again, I didn't know the college system and how it was set up, and I ended up staying at UMKC because I was a Sporting KC homegrown, and there was an affiliation there, and I went into a program that was, we were an alright program, but I was a player that stood out, and I could have gone to a top program, and would I have been the same player? I don't know, because at that level, at that age, I think it's a make or break scenario. If I were to UMKC and flopped, I'm not going to go pro. But instead, I came in, and my freshman year, I got Rookie of the Year at the conference, and I just kind of went from there. And then you have to be a realist. If I was a striker and I had 2-3 goals every season, am I going to go pro? No. If you can't score the Division I level, not just consistently 5 goals, but consistently every single game, you're dangerous, you're going to score, everyone knows who you are, that's when you might have a chance to go pro. And so you might have a chance, then you get a pro contract, you're lucky. If you get into the team, you're lucky. And so my first year was kind of that learning curve. I signed my second season with OKC Energy. Jimmy Nielsen was the coach at the time, and I loved every second of that. Top-class program run by top-class people. Met some great fans, met some great teammates that I'll always be friends with. And that was a year where I learned a lot about myself as a player. Had a lot of great experiences. But it didn't end up signing my next year due to, obviously, financial situation. People need to realize that I wasn't making big bucks. I was on $400 or $500 a month and grinding and really pushing. And it's a struggle. And you have to really love it. And that's 3, 4, 5 years ago at the Division II pro level in America. And it's obviously progressing as we speak. And I see a lot of positives in the future. And I think with players' unions, there's going to be money in the game for people to come up. But I had to go through the sacrifices. And so you look at it as a realist, and you look at it as, I'm an okay player in Australia. Am I going to come to a Barton and expect to play and start every game? No. I'm bringing in players from America, from Kansas, from Sporting KC Academy. Then I'm looking internationally in Chile or at these pro academies where they're not signing their pro contracts, and so they want to get their education as well. And so basically how I look at it is, if I've got a kid that wants to give everything on the field, wants to get his degree, why am I going to take anyone else if he's that good? So you're battling with people from all over the world for the same position at a junior college. So how do you think it's going to be at a top D1? How do you think it's going to be at a top D2? Exact same thing. And so if you get an opportunity to come to America, junior college, Division II, Division I, you have to take that opportunity. And it doesn't mean go and do all right. It means you have goals. You need to have a work ethic. You need to have determination. You need to have perseverance that's going to match those goals. Because if you don't have, I tell a lot of my players, I get a bit offended sometimes when players say, yeah, I want to go pro. Because I know how you live. I know how you eat. I know how you sleep. I know you don't watch football on weekends. You don't watch it every single game. You don't know how to cut a line out. So you're not able to sacrifice like I did. And so everyone wants to go pro, right? I wanted to go pro my whole life. The only reason I went pro is because I did the dirty things, the little things. I pushed, I worked, and everything that no one else wants to do, I did. So I went pro. And so I think the biggest thing, like you said, be a realist.
Yeah, I think I always say to the kids that I coach, I've been, coaching for well over 15 years here in Sydney. I was a competitive goalkeeper, so that's another business that we run, and we coach keepers. We've coached keepers right up to the national team levels. Coach kids all around the globe. Been blessed enough to do that with all the travels that I do with the U90 college stuff. So what you say is so important. I always say to these kids, and I get quite passionate about it. I said the only way that I could play at a high level at a young age, as I did, was because I was doing the things, the in-between things, I call them. So the things that when everyone else is at home on PlayStation and just sticking around doing whatever they, just coasting through, the day, I was actually out there working out, training, and that was every single day. Like I'm, at an elite level, even in Sydney back then in the old National Soccer League, I was doing maybe at best probably 3 or 4 training sessions with club, which was a lot.
You weren't doing it for social media though. That's a big part of it too. You were doing it for you.
Oh man, it's changed. The whole world's changed, man. I mean, everything's social media. Look, to be honest with you, I run a business, so I've got to work towards that, and be able to kind of present back a brand across, the businesses that I run. But a lot of it's so driven by that, and I think there's skewed perception as well. Even when I see a lot of these quote unquote soccer videos, like it's technical stuff. It's Okay, that's well and good. It's techers, we call them techers. It's how can I hit the perfect side volley if you're a goalkeeper? It's just these little bits and pieces that don't really talk too much of the complete spectrum of things that you've got to go to. There's great content out there, without doubt. There's some great content. You can search for it and you can connect with it, but there's a lot of, very unrealistic kind of viewing of, content that really just isn't going to give you what you need in terms of...
Yeah, perfect. I don't think I've ever hit a perfect shot in my life. If you look at my striker, perfect. You're not going to score top corner. You're going to score under the keeper in the middle of the goal by hitting it right. You're going to, there's no perfect in this game. That's
just you're spot on, and I think there's just, there's a lot of, you can't cater to the Instagram crowd, and you can't get caught up on that. I say to our clients that it's important from a promotional perspective, but even then you've got to be smart about what you're presenting back. Because some of these kids just go on social media and they're just doing the most craziest things. I'm going, no, you don't do that. You want to, going into the collegiate ranks at the highest level is just like going to a professional club. There's no difference. Don't think...
I don't care if you can hit it top corner if you don't have technique. If you can't hit it past the right foot. If you can't take a touchdown right. If you're not very, 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 very good at the basics, don't come to me. That's how I feel.
The most important thing you just said there, and I'll say it because... I'll say it from a goalkeeping perspective, because what I see on video, for example, consistently over and over and over and over and over again, is top pocket save. That happened once after 100 shots. Once. You caught it once, you presented it back, and then there's this expectation of a young player saying, well, I've got to do that consistently. You're not going to get there consistently. You know what I mean? That's just unrealistic. And then side volley ad nauseum. It's like, how many side volleys are you going to pick off in a game? You know what I mean? I say to my kids, from a goalkeeping perspective, I say this, do the simple things right. Yeah, that's what I want. I'd rather that you caught the ball, held on to the ball, played it out in the 6 and the 18 strategically, right? Or be smarter as a player. Because I always say, you control the ball, you control the play as a goalkeeper, right? Rather than, there's going to be times where you react and you parry the ball out, right? That's natural and that's a good thing, right? You stop the ball. But at the same time, too, I'd rather that if there's a chance for you to actually catch the ball, bring it down, control the ball, and then control the tempo of the play from your back line outward, I'd rather that. I want to see that.
But from a coach's point of view, if I'm watching players, look, you can have as many sideline volleys as you want in a video, and I know they're consistent, but if I'm watching a player live and I see, like you said, he catches it, he brings it down, he strategically plays it, I'm like, okay, I'm watching him now. If I see a keeper take it and try to ping it 4 times, he's off my list. I know he doesn't make good decisions. He might have really good video, but I'm not going to take him because, again, I'm a realist. I understand the game. I understand who's a showboat, and I understand who's going to be a team player and win me the game. And that's what I want, just like you're saying.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you touched on a few things. Just, Coach, I'm going to let you know that we've got at best about 9 minutes before Instagram shuts us off. What we'll do is take a little bit of a break, maybe a minute or so, roughly around about 9 minutes, and then we're going to just jump on board just to finish off. We're touching on so much great content here. It's fantastic. And I think, we've got some questions as well coming through from some of the viewers across United National, across the globe. And if you just joined us, we have Coach Jordan Rideout of Head Coach of nationally ranked Barton Community College. Definitely a powerhouse program over the years, very historic junior college soccer program, and just fantastic to have you on. Just covered so much ground. We've still got so much more to cover, but I think you covered off some of those key points that we talked about, like that we wanted, the topics that we wanted to cover around, okay, elite level junior college, how does it prepare a student for athlete for a 4-year school? We've done that. You touched on junior college and going into the pros, and obviously what qualities do you recruit for in a player at an nationally ranked college soccer program such as Barton. So we've covered some of those key topics. There was a question that I just need to scroll through. Pete Malkowski, one of our coaches here in Sydney, had asked. I think he said, at your program, what support do you provide to your players to go to the next level? I think we touched on it a little bit, but maybe you want to cover off just really quickly again what those support processes are for you as kids want to transition into the 4-year mark or otherwise.
Yeah, my phone's on 10%, so I'm glad we're taking this break so I can charge it.
No problem. Yep.
But I think that's what kind of separates me apart from. I mean, there's definitely coaches they're going to go above and beyond for those that are leaving. But there's going to be a lot of junior college coaches that kind of just focus their attention on those that are coming in because it's their program and they're looking for wins. How I sell my program is basically professionalism, improvement, and opportunity. And I like to say opportunity comes from basically trust and honesty. And I built my connections through whether I was a player, through sending players to coaches, through individual relationships, but all of those are surrounded by honesty. And so I like to pride myself on, if I'm going to send a player to a coach, then that player is going to be the right fit. And the reason I have that is because my name is on the line. And so I tell my players, look, if you're going to use me as a bouncer to get you to where you want to be, then everything you do, you have to use my name, because you have to see it as, if you fail a class, it's on me. If you don't do well in school or on the field, it's on me. If you act up outside of school, outside of the field, it's on me. And so I build my connections and I try to send my players to the right places so everybody's happy. And if you look at it as, I got 11 wins this year, we were successful, then you're looking at it the wrong way, in my opinion. If you look at it as, where are my players, and are they better now than they were before I got them, and are they going to have more opportunities to grow in the future? And that's my biggest thing is you are in junior college to find new opportunities. You're not in junior college to serve however long. It's a bouncer, and I as a coach, I'm 27 years old. I've been a head coach for 2 years. I was a volunteer assistant for 4 or 5 months, but I love coaching. And so I put everything into this, and I have aspirations of continuing my career as well. So I see it as, if I'm also trying to push on, and we're helping each other go to the next level, and we're helping each other grow, then there's a trust behind it. You can't send a player to another school without that trust. You can't just bring this kid, he's good. It has to be a conversation. It has to be hours of phone calls. It has to be different. These different things come into play. Is his budget good enough? And if not, can we get him a better scholarship? Is he a first-generation student to get a scholarship? We have a junior college transfer scholarship, $2,000 here, $1,000 there. At the end of the day, they're going to add up. And so my biggest thing that I pride myself on outside of soccer is being able to kind of be that shoulder to lean on. And I say that with pride, because I think a lot of my players would agree in the past that we've worked together to help them get the right opportunities. And at the end of the day, I'm a coach, so it's not, I'm not in charge of players. I'm helping players, and I think the biggest thing as a coach is you need to help aid them, and a lot of don't really see that as well.
I think you covered it. I mean, some key points there without doubt, and I think it's interesting. I think that, there's something that you touched on, and it only comes with experience, whether it be experience playing at an elite level yourself and growing up, playing at a professional level or otherwise, when you have been kind of ground out in those kinds of environments, you quickly uncover that any kind of sporting activity, any kind of activity that really requires a lot of mental fortitude, a lot of, digging deep within yourself, breaking yourself down in little bits to build yourself back up, will, basically create a sense of emotional empathy that, and maturity that, at a young age, even for yourself, 27 years of age, to be able to talk about the things that you talk about and what you're trying to bring into a program like Barton is fantastic, because realistically, you're taking it from, I've been through those pressure cookers. It broke me down, it humbled me to the point that I'm able to translate that back to you in a very real way to help you grow, to help you evolve as a player, to continue on this journey. And that it really talks to emotional empathy. But Coach, you know what we're going to do? We're going to take probably around about a 5-minute break, and then we're going to jump back on, because we do want to cover off a few little bits and pieces about, your past growing up, where you grew up, and how that kind of helped you evolve into the player that you and the coach that you've become today. So United Nation, we'll be back with none other than Jordan Rideout, the head coach of Barton Community College in Kansas. Very, very, very grateful to have you on board. We'll be back in 5 minutes, one and all, with Coach Jordan Rideout. See you. One and all, I did a little bit more of a background again prior to Coach jumping back on board. But basically, what we're doing is we just finished off around about 50 minutes or so of fantastic insight and information from Coach Jordan Rideout, a young and had a great background in the pro game. So I'm going to bring him back on. Great background in the pro game. Played all the way through into the highest levels of college, 4-year college, and then in the pros. And you know what? All of that journey and the platform that was created started somewhere, right? So, Coach, we're going to go back in time a little bit and, hit you up just in regards to, your background, a little bit more about a younger Jordan Rideout, have our viewers get to know you a little bit more from that side of the fence. And I guess that, if you look at your profile, a lot of it kind of sinks in with, Dad and Dad's background and Dad's history as a competitive footballer in Europe. But maybe you want to go back to Southport in the UK and maybe just talk about, growing up and transitioning into the US, and a little bit more about Dad's background and how that helped prepare you mentally and otherwise to, I guess, play at another level and obviously now coach at another level. So maybe you want to go back in time and give us a little bit of a family history of, your time growing up in the UK and then obviously coming over to the US and other ones.
Yeah, so born in England, whole family's always lived there, whole lives. My dad played professionally in the Premier League for Everton, Aston Villa, Notts County. He played for Glasgow Rangers in the Scottish Premier League, Bari, Serie A. He's a big time player back in the day, and I think I obviously got my passion and my drive from him. It's in my blood. It's all I do. It's all I've ever done. I think anyone that knows me knows that it's all I've ever done, just like him. So obviously, growing up as a son of the professional footballer, you wanna be a professional yourself, and so I idolized my dad. Always have, always will. That's probably a main reason that I want to be a coach as well, is because he's doing the same thing right now. He's in Real Salt Lake, Arizona, with the academy. But basically, I grew up with someone that was intensely in love with soccer, and it was all he ever did. And there would be, a lot of times where he wasn't around very often. Christmas days, he's training. You miss a lot of holidays with him. But it's something that you deal with, and at a young age, I didn't obviously understand. But looking back, I'm sure it was tough for my mom. 3 young boys. It's probably pretty crazy, but at the end of the day, for a kid, it was a dream. I idolized him completely, and so growing up, we moved to America when he got a contract with the Kansas City Wizards towards the end of his career in the MLS, and this was in the way back. MLS wasn't massive, but basically it was an opportunity in the contract that my whole family would get green cards to come to the U.S., and that's obviously like a kind of a lottery. And so we came, and my dad, it wasn't his cup of tea to play in America, come from England your whole life, playing at the highest level, and I'm not sure if it was dedication, I'm not sure if it was this or that, but it wasn't for him. He ended up going back. He went to China for a couple of years. He was kind of the pioneer for the Chinese league, if you will. He played for Tranmere Rovers in the championship, and so during this time that he went back, I'm in America with my mom and my 2 brothers, and basically a lot of people don't realize that I was raised in that way by my mom, and so that's where I grew empathy. That's where I learned how to be a man and treat people right, and obviously my dad does that, but he's a bit more hard-nosed. He's come from a little bit different background, and so I feel as if I have both sides of it, which is a great. I can relate to players as a coach. I can see you've come from a tough environment. I know how to deal with you. Or you've come from where you've been babied, and I kind of have to push you a little more to get that out of you. And so growing up with my mom was, I didn't have my dad around, and him being an idol is tough for a young kid, and you'd see him 2 weeks here and there on holiday in Florida, but that was about it. And so when he came back after he retired at 38, it was obviously amazing for me, but as a soccer side, he was very, very hard on me. I was talented, but it could always be better, and I was never going to be Premier League level if I was growing up in America, and that was just kind of the realist side of it. But he saw my best interest at heart, and I mean that in a sense of he was never going to be the guy that said, "Hey, I'm going to get you this opportunity." He never picked up a phone and said, "Jordy, I'm going to get you here," or "Your foot's in the door here." It was always, "You're going to create your own path. You're going to earn it. You're not good enough to get there. You need to push harder." And so he kind of built a mentality in me that was, you always got to get better every day. You're never going to be good enough. You're never going to be good enough. And in my opinion, it's a trait that needs to be driven more into today's generation. A trait that you're not there, a trait that is not good enough, a trait that you need to keep pushing, you need to keep bettering yourself. And I know that if I wasn't raised by him, then I wouldn't have made it as a pro, because I needed that side of chip on my shoulder type, but I also needed the side of empathy as well. And so I obviously, both of my parents are a massive reason for why I am who I am today. But as far as my life, it's always been revolved around soccer, and it always will be. And so, I remember little memories after I think my dad lost to Wimbledon. I hate Wimbledon now because he said, "Never say the word Wimbledon again in my life." And so, like, little things like that I remember But there's a lot of things that I didn't get when I was younger, such as I played basketball a little bit, but that's the only sport I ever played. It was always soccer, 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 soccer. Do I look at that negatively? Not at all, because now I see. I built a life from this, but I think a big part of me is that I was raised by my mother as well, and I think you can be as good as you are at soccer, and you can be the best player in the world, but if you don't know how to interact with people, and if you don't have empathy, and if you don't know how to be a role model, you're never going to really make it. And so both sides are built from my parents, but it's always going to be about soccer. And if you ask my mom, it's always on TV 24/7. And so I kind of try to put that into my players is I'm probably get pretty annoying sometimes, but you have to love it. You have to really, really love it. Because how much I loved it and how much I put into it, I didn't make it as far as I would have really loved to. And so you use me as an example and push on from there.
Dad spent a lot of time when he did get the time to, get out there and kick the ball. And the reason why I asked that is that there was a recent interview here on in Australia with the great Mark Viduka, and it's been a very, very interesting, because there's a lot of things that are choppy at the minute, and it's not even to do with Corona or otherwise, with the leagues here locally across the men's and women's game in Australia, and some of these older guys who played in Europe and World Cups and otherwise in Australia have basically turned around and said, you know what, we talk about academies and we talk about all that kind of stuff, and there's a kind of mixed bag of emotion there. There are some academies out there that do a great job, and then there are a lot of them that can be a money grab and money spin. But I think it was Mark Viduka and a few of the other kind of old school Australian national team guys who said that it's all well and good to, train with these academies and all that kind of jazz, but it all starts at home. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So if you've got a parent or otherwise who just invests a little bit of time to, whether it be they're there to support you to take you to the games, I'm sure that Mum did that without doubt. But outside of that, it's like, hey, being that, getting the ball, hey, let's just go kick the ball. A lot of it comes down to the kid as well. Hey, I want to do this, so come, let's go do it that. But at the same time too, it's about having a mentor or a role model be able to do that at the infancy level of understanding football and get you out there. And it could just be having support, just having someone who supports you and barracks for you at games. And that's, I still remember growing up. Like, my dad wasn't a footballer. My parents grew up in a small village in Croatia, and were uneducated, didn't have a high level of education at all or otherwise. And what they gave me was they saw a little bit of spark and a passion that I had as a young guy, but they would religiously get down to the games, take me to the games, take me to training, and be there and support me. And I think that's important. Did you get a lot of that with, like, Dad, you mentioned Dad, and this is very important. Dad played at the level, but he also said, you're your own man. You've got to make it your own pathway. I'm not going to open up doors for you. It's not going to be easy for you if that's what you want. So I think I lost you there for a second, Coach. But, when Coach jumps back on, we'll...
we good?
To answer that quickly, I'll let you back on. So how did kind of Dad help you, like, growing up, like, in terms of, just from a technical perspective and getting a passion and love for the game?
It all starts with every memory I have is growing up is watching football with him. Is doesn't matter if it's Prem, it doesn't matter if it's Championship, League One, League Two. It's when we watch it, how I teach is how he taught me, is sitting on a couch and breaking it down. You see a replay of a cross and a finish. As a striker myself, my dad says, "What'd you see there?" And he stared at me until I gave him an answer. And as you grow up and you get more and more answers, you can break it down to, okay, well, I see that the winger had to slow the defender down to find a half yard to cross it, and then the striker peeled off of the defender to get a half yard, so it got over the defender's head. And then as that keeper's shifting, because that keeper's shifting, I can now head it back across because he can't get there anymore. So when you break it down to the littlest details and you obsess over the game at that level, you watch it at that level. And so I think that's how he really helped me is break it down.
Yeah, and I think that's important because you're talking about it's so much more than just kicking the ball around. What helped you at a very young age, analysis. And a lot of kids just don't understand that as well. You've got to analyse yourself. You've got to analyse what your weaknesses are. You've got to analyse, the game and the technicality. Around it, and it could be things like body shape. It could be, movement toward a ball, movement in space. All those little bits and pieces that Dad had played at a level, and he could translate that back to you in a simple way so that you understood. And as you grew and evolved as a young player, you took those facets in your mind and then said, okay, hold on a second, I can break down and read the game. That's important because it's not just about the technical stuff we talked about it earlier, all these kids doing all the techers and stuff like that. That's all well and good, right? But it really comes down to understanding the game at a granular level, understanding your role in the game and how you can impact the game. So it's very, very telling that you said that. It's not just about the technical aspects, it's also about the analysis of your strengths and weaknesses. And without doubt, I can only imagine that, for your own team. It's about analysis.
Don't get me wrong, we worked night and day tirelessly one-on-one. We did individual sessions like it was nobody's business. And that was growing up, and he was my coach in Sporting KC Academy at 18, and that was a year that it was really, really tough for me because I was supposed to be the guy, and I felt I was, but the guy to him was a little bit different than the guy to me. And so I went my 4 years at UMKC, and he was always in the stands, and I always felt those eyes on me. And you could ask my head coach at UMKC or any teammate, they'll always say, yeah, Paul Rideout was that guy up there he was going to voice his opinion, and if Jordy was playing bad, then anyone could look and just see that frown and that chin on his face. And at the end of the day, that's kind of what pushed me and kept me going, is knowing that if I messed up, I've got those eyes on me. But I remember vividly is when I finished college, and I think I had just finished playing my first season pro with Phoenix. He asked me randomly to do a one-on-one session, and I said, yeah, let's do it. And we went out, and he's doing this finishing session with me. He's pinging balls in and seeing how I react and finish. And he's not saying anything the whole time. And I'm getting pissed with myself when I'm messing up. And he's actually kind of saying, nah, like that would have been a finish in the game. And so we leave the session, and it was whatever. And later on, we talk about it. And for the first time, he was like, you were unreal. Like, every piece of your technique was spot on. And I didn't have anything to say because it was right. And seeing that 10, 15 years of just getting abused in a one-on-one session led to 25-year-old Jordan killing it in a session, going into his second year as a pro, ready to take on the world. And so you look at it as analysis, but you have to look at it as preparation on the field. Analysis has to turn into preparation. And if that doesn't happen, everything has to come together to make it, Yeah,
it resonates a lot. I think that, especially the fact silence and observation is a very, very important thing because you can be a coach. I think I caught myself yesterday. I was training one of our keepers in the morning, and I just start too much. And then he got to a point where what happened was he overanalyzed himself. And I just went, look, stop. Okay. I'm breaking it down because I want to show you some of the technical aspects and how you attack the ball and whatnot to get to the ball effectively. I shouldn't be. I need to take a step back. So being able to, coach in silence is a very, very powerful thing. You don't have to always shout and scream, holler, and do all that kind of stuff. It really is observing, analysing, and then articulating back in a way that a young player will understand, take that information, and then continually improve. So I think that's a very, very standout thing that your dad did, because it allowed you to fight through some emotions in that particular training session, fight through the silence. Silence can be a very, very interesting thing because a lot of people don't understand. And I'm a grown man, I'm 41 years of age, right? And there are times where my partner should be sitting there in silence. And then in my head, I'm like, done something wrong.
Yes. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you start internalising in your head. Okay, hold on a second. What am I, am I doing right? Am I doing wrong? So it is a very powerful technique in coaching. And in essence, your dad showed that because what he wanted you to do is figure it out himself and fight through the emotions yourself, because in a packed stadium like your dad did right across the globe, and CR and EPL and all that kind of stuff, as much noise as there was, he was in here.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a fight. He knew that he prepped himself athletically and technically, right? He didn't have to worry too much about that, but it was him. And that's the difference between those kids who can play at a high level and those kids who are just going to be, playing for the sake of playing, for the love of the game, whatever it might be. I always say to kids, there's going to be somewhere where you fit into the bigger picture, whether it be, even in the collegiate game. There are going to be those programs that are going to be a better fit for you, and then there are going to be those programs that, you want to go to a place that's more academic. You want to go to a place that has a good mix of academics and athletics, or you want to go to those places that are just top tier athletics, and you know that you're going to get that, degree. There's a fit for everyone. So it's just so interesting that you covered that off, that key point there in terms of that coaching style, and I'm sure that translates in how you go through, some of the interactions that you have with your new players. There's a great question here from a very, very good friend of mine, one of our recruiters down in Melbourne, SGS Sports Management, a very close friend of mine, recruits for us down out in Melbourne. Coach, I'll get this question out. We can answer that, and we'll probably wrap up another couple of minutes. So he said, Jordan, as a coach, how do you help players who come from other cultures and continents to fit in with your team and in the locker room? How do you deal with their adaptation? Which is a fantastic question. I think that's just such a great question. So how do you deal with that, Coach?
That is a very good question, and it resonates a lot with me with having so many different cultures in my team. And I'll use my team for example. I have players from Japan, and players from Japan are technically superior, but when it comes to physicality, they don't match. I've got players from Chile that are both good on the ball, but they're tough as nails, but maybe they're not good at in the air. I've got players from Venezuela that this kid is unbelievable with his feet and dribbles the world, but there's so many that he could have had 50 goals instead of 20 goals. And so how I see it is I recruit based off of the ultimate goal of my philosophy. And my philosophy is I'm recruiting people that want to succeed and push on. And so language is a barrier, but goals, dreams, aspirations isn't. That's where you can grasp. And so if I have, here's your goals and aspirations, and here's the work ethic, and we can use football as that language, they're going to build that. And language is always going to come. But I think I made it very clear how I did it is in preseason, we used the language barriers as our friend. Every day we had family as our motto, and every day a different person from a different country would say family in the group chant in that language. And it was a laugh because no one could say anything, but it brings you guys together. And so in my itineraries, I would write the whole itinerary, and then I would put "We Are Family" in every different language. And so I had midway through preseason, I had my Japanese guys singing Spanish music, and I had my Jamaican guys hanging out with my Brazilian guys, and so I think Pep Guardiola said it really well. He said, when you can bring a group of culturally diverse people together into a family, then you're really going to succeed. And so that kind of translated into my team this year, and we started out. We were good, but we weren't that perfect product. It took us a few games to get that, and then we went 9 games without giving up a single goal. 900 plus minutes, and look, that doesn't come from good coaching. That doesn't come from anything other than our group believed in that common goal, and our group believed that we need to continue this streak, and we were going to be the best in the country, and we were going to be the best defensive team, and we were going to push on as a group, as a family, and so I don't have to say, hey, you are my friend in English in order to build that connection. I have to play with a player on the field, build the connection, and that football will be that connection. But the ultimate goal is how I did it.
Very, very telling that you say that. And football, in my experience traveling around the world, different cultures or otherwise, football brings all cultures together. I had a very, very close mentor of mine who brought me up at a very young age into, the elite youth ranks or otherwise. He scouted me basically and spotted me as a young guy, but from 11 years of age. And he played at a professional level back in the 70s, the 60s and the 70s, growing up in Europe and then in South America, and then ended up in Australia with his wife. And he always said that football speaks many languages, and so. And the beauty of that, and I see it in the collegiate ranks, is that whether you're from Australia, Japan, some part of South America, some part of Europe, every single one of you are going to have different nuances. The beauty of that is once you put it into a mixing pot, you create a beautiful product. And if you can harness it as a coach, just like, you just mentioned prior that, if you can bring these kids together in a family environment and have that mentality that this is family, right? Doesn't matter where you're from, right? You can be a very, very powerful conduit for progress and success. And
I'd like to touch on that and say that one thing that sticks out to me in junior college among any other university is the friendships that you would build forever. They hit different in junior college because you have so many culturally diverse people coming together. So you could be a 35-year-old man living in Scotland talking to your Japanese friend that you went to junior college with. And so as a pro, my best friends were Poland, Ghana, from Cameroon, from Denmark. I lived with 2 Danish guys that didn't speak much English, and they became my best friends, and I started to speak really bad Danish, and the banter was there, and football was that thing that brought us together. And I think, I'm biased, but it's the most beautiful game there is, and it's basically built around trust, because if you don't have trust with your team, you're not going to be successful. So off the field is just as important to have those relationships as it is on the field. You can't be a fake friend just because he's in the same position. You have to push him to be better and want to have that healthy competition.
So right when it comes to that. I think that being in those kinds of environments and really just it challenges you on a different level as well. And I'm seeing it so much more in the collegiate game right across the board that it's just becoming a lot more. It really is becoming a lot more international. I'm just seeing it, and kids are coming out of some of the best environments in the world. So the level is right across, whether it be junior college, whether it be a 4-year school across the NCAA or the NAIA. Well, historically there's always been foreign players, but it's becoming a lot more prevalent because every kid who's coming up in an academy environment in a different part of the world might be playing at an elite level or otherwise. Mm-hmm. knowing that they probably won't get that pro contract or aren't there yet, or probably won't be there, see that the US is kind of like a massive open door of opportunity, because it's continually evolving. The game is growing at a professional level, and it's becoming uniquely intertwined back into the collegiate game. It was always kind of like that back in the day, especially the formation of the MLS. It kind of teetered out. The relevancy kind of dropped away a bit because of the development academy structures that were in place. Now, obviously, that's shut down. And I'm hoping to see over the next few years that this unique mix of education and football at a high level will allow for players from all around the world to enter into the system and be able to open up opportunities for them right across this amazing landscape that's prevalent in the US. I mean, you were privy to it. It really opened your eyes up and gave you opportunities to be able to grow and evolve as a human being. And I think the ultimate goal for myself as a person who runs these kinds of companies, as a coach myself, is to be able to grow people to become, better human beings to impact, society and life. And I think the collegiate environment in the USA certainly provides that. You get world-class infrastructure, you get world-class coaching if you're in the right environment, and you have the opportunity to play at a high level whilst you're gaining an education which will, prepare you for the big bad world, right? So,
the level of pro in Australia is a high level, and so you look at an 18-year-old that might not make it as a pro in Australia. They have an opportunity to come to the U.S. and play 4 years of college. USL isn't far off of a very high level in Australia. If you had 4 years to get your education and play collegiately and do really well, you're going to get into a professional environment here if you're playing at that high of a level and you want it that bad. And so I think a lot of people see it as, I didn't sign pro at 18, I'm not going pro. And if you look at it that way, then you're never going to go pro.
Yeah, and you're right. And a great example for us just in the last 12 months, for example, was we had Jiro Dragic, who played for Sydney FC, was a Joey, played for Australia in the U19s, U20s. Went to just academically kind of missed the boat because he missed 1 year, I guess because of football commitments. I told him, I said, listen, you're probably not going to go down the NCAA route to begin with, or the NAIA route to begin with. Let's start at a junior college, get you into a really good program, and then continue the progression from there. So he had a standout season in first season at Arizona Western, and then he signed with the University of Charleston, West Virginia, and National Power. And I see him as a player that will potentially go pro. We connected him with Laredo Heat and the ownership group there. And, obviously, hopefully the season kicks back in next year and he gets the opportunity to continually be in front of, professional scouts or otherwise in the USL or otherwise. But, look, some of the kids in Australia at that level are now, funnily enough, coming back full circle. Right, because they've seen kids like Jiro and some of the other kids over the last 4 or 5 years specifically who probably missed the boat academically, and we helped manage them through into the junior college route and then into the 4-year route. And a lot of those kids have now graduated, which has been fantastic from 4-year schools, whether it be D1 or D2, that have come through our process in that regard. But you're seeing a lot more of those kids who are playing at the National Premier Leagues here in Australia or even the A-League. You know that, hey, I'm not going to be able to go pro here locally, so I'm going to give it a go in the US because I've seen XYZ player who I grew up with now have a great career in the US or otherwise, whether they continue playing pro in the US or they've just got a great education and they're going to go out and impact society in a positive light. So it's really, really interesting that we covered that off without doubt. Coach Rideout, one and all, we've had such a great hour and a half of power with Coach Jordan Rideout, the head coach of Barton Community College, a national powerhouse when it comes to